kind of wanted to do a beat breakdown of the record I just came out with SZA, SOS. If you guys haven't heard her new album, it is called SOS. It is super duper fire. And I've been yeah I've known Solana SZA for damn near when I started actually making music, or kind of being making music from a major label standpoint, or making with a major label artist. And she has been one of my favorite, what I'm saying, artists since for a while. Like, I've known her since she was, you know, I think she was I don't know, was it SoundCloud at the time? She had some stuff she was sending me, but I just met her through my guy Cody, and she's amazing, man. Like, I knew the talent was there, but then I think just evolved over time of just seeing her grow and seeing her just fucking create like magic over time and time. And like, she's just, he's just super, super, super duper dope. And so we've been working on and on for the years and whatnot. And so this particular record came to be, which is called Used. It kind of took like a journey, to be honest, like where it kind of started from and then where it grew to. And the reason I kind of want to tell that story is just because you never, like, this record is probably like 3 to 4 years old, just from like iteration start to like end point. And it's kind of taken like a journey in the sense of like how it even came to be created, just from like the original idea actually started from, I wouldn't say it's a splice loop, because it definitely wasn't a splice loop. But original, I remember going through like sound packs from like, downloaded little sound loop making websites, whatever. And there was one little melody idea that was like sounded really, really dope, that I was like, oh, this is really fire. And I was like, yo, this just seemed like it's pretty cool. But I kind of, I usually sing and mumble like demos on records. So I sang like this really cool little demo melody on the record. And I was like, oh, this is fire. There's something really dope to it. But the melody was just like a loop. It wasn't like, I couldn't actually make something actually really cool out of it. So, shout out to Marvel Guitar. I see you, appreciate you. Like we basically kind of just made an idea from, I was like, I this idea was fire. So I sat with it, played it for a couple people, thought it was really cool. Then I got on my guy John Hill, who is, if you don't know who he is, he's a credible producer. He's worked with pretty much anybody and everybody. But he's just a really solid like individual and a solid like creative person that I've always loved to collaborate over the years. So me and John got together and I played him that idea, and he was like, yo, this is fire. This is I was like, I know this is something really dope by this loop. So John was like, all right, let's write new melodies around it. So basically we took the melody and we took the sample and wrote new melodies around the sample. And the sample itself is like really, really simple, but it kind of gave it more movement. And I think a lot of times when people ask me about loops and like why loops are kind of, just a really good starting point, is that, you can kind of, if you know what I'm saying, like how to basically make that loop move more and have more context and more, like more progression in the song, you can really make a song out of anything. And so that was the basic point of like this particular idea of like, oh, you can make a song out of anything. We just got to have the right structure of the song. So basically from there, me and John, all right, I had this idea. Basically, I was like, all right, I'm gonna hold it. Didn't do nothing with it, just sat with it. Was like, oh, this is like something I really like, but I'll kind of hold it off. But then maybe like 2 years ago, I got with a shout out to producer Unknown. Thanks for the sub. We had like I took this idea. Basically, went to I did a jam session camp for like this project I'm working on, and I had all like my musician homies come through, and we just cooked up like a bunch of dope ideas and dope music, and just basically like just made like just like cooked up with the homies and just made a bunch of shit. And usually it's like I work with like the people I usually collaborate with or really like working with in particular is my guy Danny McKinney, who's a really incredible guitar player, and I've been working with him for the last like probably like damn near like I feel like we working here like last 3-4 years of just kind of like collaborating on stuff and having to play on ideas and just doing shit. But Danny's really fire. My boy John Key, who is an incredible producer, musician, artist. John's done a lot of stuff for Solange. Solange is, if you guys know Solange is super fire, incredible artist. John's worked a lot with her. And then also too, my guy Eli Rise, he plays on basically anything that I'm doing. And he's just super talented and just super dope. So we got together. I was like, yo, I got this idea I started with my boy John that I think is really cool, but I think we need to like actually make something really dope out of it. So basically we did a jam session, and the jam session was basically we replayed everything, replaced all the sounds, and then basically create a new song out of it. And that was like basically like sometimes I think like when you're making music, I think sometimes you gotta understand like the context of like what world you're trying to build. And so for this particular song, I was like, I just needed to be like, it just needs to move like a soulful record. Like the chords are there, the melody's there, but it doesn't have the it doesn't have the what it needs to make it like super dope. But the base of the idea is like super there. So if we can do something like that, we can make something really fire. So basically, I had all my sounds, all my instruments laid out, have everybody play on some shit, and we came up with like the this idea, and I was like, oh, this is super fire. Again, set on it was like, all right, this is a really dope sample now that I can basically kind of reproduce and really create some shit around it. So then after that, we took the beat. I was just doing a bunch of drum programming and other ideas, and like basically was like, okay, this is like a solid rhythm, but I don't know where I can use it at and try shit. So sometimes what I do is I just throw a random, as I did you guys saw my last time, just throw a random drum loop and just run it through a bunch of samples and ideas, whatever. And so I did that for this beat, and I just run through samples, and I remember that initial idea I did with John and with everybody additional production on it, put it on there, and then voila, it came out like magic. Like, oh, this shit is like super fire. And I knew it was fire because it just had like, it just had a moment, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's when I knew it was, I just knew it was like, I was gonna be able to do something with it. So from then, just holding on beats, sending out to people. And I mean, literally, I think me and Solana got in and worked. And when was this? This, as I said, this process was a whole album process. I know she's been working like 5 years. I think we got in and actually did some shit like, it feels like 3 years ago, could be 2 years ago, but I feel like it's like 3 years ago. Had this idea, had this melody sample and the beat put together, sent it to her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this shit is crazy. This is amazing. This is like one of my favorite beats that I've gotten." And yeah, she just went ham on the record, and she sent me like some demos, sent me some stuff that was like, "Oh yeah, somebody said we talking about Used. Yeah, the record we talking about today is Used." So just so you guys know, I'm going to do a beat breakdown of the record used that's on the new SZA album SOS. So we were cooking up, did some shit. It was like, all right, this is fire. I mean, sorry, she did some shit on the record. This is super dope, super fire. I was like, oh yeah, this is amazing. Now, in the earlier process, when you give an artist a song, you know, you pray to God that it actually stays, because after that, it was basically another year and a half, 2 years before, you know, the actual release of the record. And so I knew it was on the album, but I didn't know for sure, because, you know, people can say shit that's happening all the time, and it actually never ends up happening. You know what I'm saying? So, but, you know, thank God it actually, you know what I'm saying, came to be, and it was like, okay, this was something that we, you know what I'm saying, just happened, and it was like, oh wow, this is like amazing. So, you know, long story short, I think, and you'll see kind of like what, you might hand me my bag right there. You'll see, just like in the process of some of the songs, you know, everything's my motto with like all this whole process of making music is like, everything's a demo before it comes out. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, sometimes some songs take different life, some songs like have their own thing, but in general, you know what I'm saying, like, you really don't know. Like, you'll be sitting on that record for years, and sometimes you can retouch it, give it a new context, give it something that's like, they give it a new life. But for the most part, yeah, it's like, you don't know. You don't have any real context for like where a record's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that like I've come to realize as I've like become, you know, just kind of like, in some ways, just more inspired by the idea of just like making music just for the sake of music, and not really worried about where it's gonna go, because you never really know. A lot of this stuff is just, it's a constant, you know, you're wishful. You have wishful thinking about shit. So that's the biggest thing I wanted to kind of show and talk about today with you guys, and kind of show you a little bit of what I'm doing. So, but yeah, let's dive into it. So, let me pull up the session. Right quick, don't save. Boo, 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 boo. All right, let's see. All right. So, let's see. So, okay. So,
someone asked a good question actually real quick.
Yep.
Someone asked you, so in those situations, do you sit on the beat and not give it to anyone else, or do you still?
Oh, my Ableton screen's not working. So I mean, second. What was the question?
Like, do you still give the beat to anyone else, or you kind of exclusively hold it in those situations where like you don't know if it's gonna be placed?
I mean, usually, I'd say like I don't really send stuff out to a bunch of people anyway. Sometimes I try to be very specific with like who I try to send shit out to, just because I think when you're making music and you have relationships with people, you know, sometimes you gotta look like you gotta look at it as like, well, if I'm trying to create a vibe with an artist and they have a vibe with, and you kind of specifically make stuff for somebody, you know, it's got their I guess flavor on the record. So in some ways, like making placements or making things, like I don't really switch to the main camera. I don't really worry too much about like me sending out to people, because sometimes I know there hasn't been a lot of times where I've sent stuff out and it doesn't get places. A lot of it's just like, I try to, in some ways be intentional about where it's going. You know what I'm saying? To have that be for that particular artist. I try not to double down and be like, I'm gonna send this out to everybody. Because sometimes I'm more of a person where it's like I want the record to sound good, and even if it's just like me to get paid or do something shit, like, yeah, it's cool, and I'll take that. But I know if I can create a moment with an artist and like we make something really really fire, that's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? Like I think to some degree that's where I try to really have that be the forefront of like where I'm trying to go and trying to do. So if we froze, let me see, we might have frozen. Okay, give me a second. We're gonna screen froze. Okay,
Yep.
I just do be back. No, it's still not in there.
Go back to that main screen real quick.
Let me see.
Oh. There you go.
Okay, can you guys see me? Okay, you see my screen? All right, cool. Just make sure you guys actually see my screen. Oh, did it close? Open up. Let me open it again. Let's see. Oh, it's on my window. My bad. There you go. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. Sorry for that. So I'll play you guys what's this one? So I'll play you the initial jam. So the jam is basically this do I have even the original? I wish I had the original loop, because the loop was funny, because loop was dope, but I don't even know if I have that anymore.
Ooh, shout out Dexter. He just subbed saying I'm late to watch.
Oh, shout out Dexter, man. Thanks for tuning in. So again, if you guys are coming in late, I'm doing a breakdown of the record used by SZA on SOS. So just so you guys will, hear. What is this? No. Okay. Yeah. So the original sample is just, these are all just from jam session stuff. So when I do stuff, I'll just have all the homies just play random sounds and random beats into the record. So let me see if I yes. Okay. So this is what it sounds like as it's a jam. So you guys can hear it. So yeah, so that's like the basically the gist of the beat. So like the somebody says, bro, this makes me feel like I'm in Wakanda. That's funny. That's hilarious. So like so basically like what I just say you come to some of the sounds. So some of the sounds are I usually play around with the Mellotron. Mellotron is always a really cool sound instrument for like when you're doing jam sessions. Just because like the Mellotron has it's a really good tool for like kind of getting authentic sound from like a sample it sounds like a sample but it sounds like it's a real sound like it's really cool. It has a lot of dope string instruments, dope keys instruments, dope you know uh sampled synth sounds. Some has like sounds, whatever. You can either I have the real one, but you can also use like the Mellotron from I have both. I have the Mellotron that I bought, but you also can get the Mellotron V, which somebody wrote on the chat. Yeah, that's a great instrument you guys use for like on production. Um, Somebody asks when you get the range, when it gets arranged to the final version.
Oh, that's like when did it?
Oh, when did it get arranged? Um, I'll answer that question right after this. So you got the Mellotron, which is just like incredible sounds. The OB6. I used the OB6 as the initial sound. The OB6 is a Dave Smith instrument. It's pretty well known. It's been around for like I think it came out. I remember they either reissued. They made it with like maybe like I feel like 8-10 years ago, but I could be wrong. But the OB6 is a really dope synth to use. The Prophet 6, yeah, I love the Prophet 6. I have that. I had the rack mount version of that, which is basically like you just basically plug it into a MIDI keyboard and it's super fire. But you can also use the Prophet 6 on Arturia has the Prophet 6 sound that you could use, or the Prophet. There's also like there's a bunch of like module VST versions of that you can find, and it's usually a good basis of somebody said the G Force Fire is it's kind of similar to that, which is fire too. But the Prophet in general is just like a standalone instrument that you guys should also use. The Electra, I didn't use it on this one, so but that is a really good dope instrument. That's like a I believe that is a Electra is
It's a drum sequencer, right?
no, I think the Electra one is fuck. I'm trying to remember what's the Electra one. Electra one is I think it's I don't know if it's I'm not even speaking because I don't even know what the fuck it is. It might be it's not that this is I would say it's not the Digi one because the Digi one.
Oh yeah, this is the Digi one.
Yeah, it's the Digi one. But I didn't use that, so I'm not gonna even speak on that. Okay? I don't want to misquote some shit. The grandmother I used is a Moog synthesizer. That one is quote unquote like one of the best I think Moog synths that came out. It's very similar to like a lot of really dope lead lines, a lot of really dope bass line sounds, and it really feels like analog. And you can play it like if you get the right person to play the lead lines on that synth and just kind of like twerk and move sounds on it, pretty fucking fire. And then what else? Which one is this one? This one is and then we had guitar, Danny playing guitar, and we kind of had him play. I think on this one, oh yeah, there we go. So we had Danny play guitar straight into my pedal board. My pedal board, I have I think I may have used like my Eventide H9. I may have used the Mobius by Strymon, which is a really dope pedal. And then I think that was the main sources of sounds that we used for the for that particular initial synth sound. It says, "What synth would you keep if you could only use one?" Right now, the Prophet Five. Prophet Five is definitely one synth that I would keep. I, bar none between any other synthesizer because this shit is just super fire. So what else did I use? And then I did another track where I had used a delay track basically. So I had a delay track that with this initial guitar sound, so you guys can hear it. So that was initial track, and then I had another track where I used Portal, which is super. I just love Portal. Portal's like, if you guys don't know that's made by Output, and Output has some really dope plugins. Portal is one of their like delay plugins that I use when I just want to get some like really cool sound design, textures and sound that I get. So this one just kind of had a really dope kind of back sound to the beat, kind of hitting these like reflection sounds over top of like the initial sound with the guitar. Yeah. So that was just like the initial. Those two sounds were, kind of together and really gave the guitar sounds like really really dope. Yeah, just really dope context and sound of what was going on. And then I think the last sound was this one. This one is SBT. What's this one? Oh, bass. So then I just had a dry bass sound. So this bass sound is just flat string basses. I love flat string basses. Flat string basses are like this. They just got a tone to them that just like makes it sound old school, but like got pocket and got rhythm, and so it's just one of my basses. I think that one we was going straight into. I don't think we added any sounds to that, but the bass itself, and that was played by my boy Danny. Yeah, Danny killed that bass line. And then I think the other sound is, which one is this one? It's a Kontakt. Okay. So I don't know what sound is this actually. I don't know what sound is actually. I'm trying to remember what it is. But I think it was either some key. Oh, you know what it was? I was now that I remember. I was using like a retro piano Kontakt Libraries kit. It was like either something keys. I can't remember what it was. Got
Oh, retro keys?
Not retro. It wasn't retro keys. It was
like Scarborough ones or something like that?
Nah, it was just some key sound. I can't remember what it was, but it's like any. Basically, it was like any retro key synth sound was like what I did. It wasn't 40 keys. Somebody wrote 40 keys. Wasn't Keyscape. It was like one of those. It was one of those Kontakt Library sound banks that you could fuck around with and do. But I don't remember the actual things. I usually sometimes I'll just flatten it so it won't crash. But I remember using it for sure. Let me see if this is it. No, see, I would have. I think I may have flattened it, but I don't remember. I don't know how this actually plug in, but anyway, the So okay, so those are like the basic sounds of the beat back there. And so, but the initial kind of sound. Let me see. What's this one? Is this one something? I'm just looking for. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Well, anyway. So let me see what else it sounded. Oh, and then the drum beat I'd made from. Let's see, I'll just play the drums. No, that's not it. So that drum beat is actually I made that drum line from what was it from? It was the process of making drums. I have a very weird process of doing drums sometimes. But lot of these initial sounds came from uh kind of like a drum. It was like a retro drum machine sound bank. I don't remember. It might be. Oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. It's this one's called, if you guys don't know, this one's pretty dope, drum bank. If you guys want to find like retro sounding drums, um I'd say use let me see if I have it under. It's under. Oh, okay, no, it is. It's under. Um, let me see. Oh yeah, UVI Falcon, and then the drums pack is called it's called Beat Anthology, and really dope program for finding like retro sounding drums. They have like it's I like to say if you don't have like the classic drum machine sounds, you don't have like uh if you don't have like you in UVI is really I feel like I'm plugging all these brands. It's funny, man.
You need to hit them up.
I need to hit them up. They need to pay me for this shit. Um, but but I'm just saying in general, like I'd say you can really find some really dope you can find some really dope sound banks in here. They have array of like just really dope retro classic drum machine sounds that it's really good sounding and if you can't afford to buy an Ace T or if you can't afford to buy an SMS or you can't afford to buy mini pop drum machines, the classic 808 machine, 909, like they have like really fire drum sounds that you basically can like uh make songs out of. And it's I initially used like a drum pack from there. I programmed the drums myself and kind of made something out of it a little bit differently, but for the most part I got my drum sounds from here. And I'd say like I recommend if you're looking for like retro sounding drum sounds, this is like a perfect down bank to go through to try to find some shit. Um, so yeah, that's that's like basically the main sound of like the song. I think what was the initial question somebody had about
Oh, they're just asking what the synths were. That question?
no, somebody asked me about fuck, what was the question? Somebody asked oh, somebody asked about the vocal chop stuff. That was just like me messing around with actual sounds in the sense that it had me fuck around and make with the song. It wasn't. I didn't actually do. Um, I took acapella and I used her vocals to like reshape because we were just coming up with ideas We chopped her vocals, chopped some sounds, and we kind of imagine what a new hook will maybe sound like if I like scratched, and made a new beat out of it basically. But it was just really just a matter of like trying to try an idea and be like, oh, this is fire. Let me see if I can actually make something when we actually need to use it in the record. Um, somebody asked, there's another question someone asked. Somebody asked about uh
Oh, between that and the like when it got arranged.
oh, gotcha. So somebody asked about the arrangement of the record. So basically, um
Yeah, when did it get arranged from the final version from that?
so the funny thing, the I didn't really have to arrange that much in the song. Because initially when I did the song, I sometimes what I do is I take parts of a record and I usually will kind of basically arrange them into different sections. So for this one, I basically took the parts of this. I think we jammed out on the song for like, I think it's only 6 minutes actually, but I took like it was like a section in the song like for basically like a minute and a half that I was like, oh, this feels like the best take of what the song is, and uh and we just and that's the good thing about I'd say like recording and just recording shit and just recording basically the whole process, and then you can go through, and edit parts and be like, oh, this is dope, let's rearrange this part, let's rearrange that part, let's do that. Because sometimes you just find moments in the way somebody plays something that you will basically like, that's what the magic is, you know what I'm saying? Like I think a lot of to me what makes a great producer is like someone who can listen to a record and literally cut the fat and be able to be like, okay, that's the moment, um, and or know that I need to take stuff out. I don't need to put so much shit in. Like it's just like, you know, just being able to recognize like where the magic is. And the great thing about working with musicians is, you can kind of just let them play and find moments and find pockets and find things that they, um, saying feel, once they understand like the kind of progression of this, how the songs came to be. And for me, it was really cool just to work with these particular group of guys, because like they all understand like what I like in playing and what I like really fuck around with and say like that. Oh, that's the magic. Because sometimes you can play some shit and they don't they may have a way of playing it, but they're like, oh, I don't think they recognize like this is not it. You know what I'm saying? And I was actually on a conversation with my friend of like, you got to just have people that know how to let God in the room. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that means like what I mean by that is like somebody who literally can be in the moment and like really just and be connected to another person and be able to be like, oh, this is really fire. This is something that's like you basically are all on the same page and like you guys are just there for the music. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's like a super factor of like being able to make music and just kind of come up with some really fire moments. So at the end of the day, this was just like a moment of like all these things coming together and like me finding parts that is that really made something dope. Somebody asks question: if you render multi tracks with reverbs and the delays, and then an artist asks for an arrangement change, how do you make the loops work without it sounding like uh how you make
Basically, like the loop point, like when like the reverb cuts off, like all of a sudden, like how do you like compensate for that, or do you care about that?
I mean, I haven't really come up with too many issues with like me printing a part and then like them wanting to change it. The only thing I'd say is you know I kind of like, I guess in some ways like I don't, if someone likes a part in the beat or they want me to change or an arrangement part in the beat, um I try to do it. I'll maybe save a session where I just literally have the plugins in there already in the song, and then we can kind of reimagine stuff. So a lot of times but to me too, I like to kind of do shit where like I'm gonna give people what it is, and like because sometimes I don't want them to change it. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes, and this is where things I've realized sometimes, like depending on when you give people records, like I've had records where I give them someone and be like, I'll give them the stems, and then they try to like actually rearrange the song and fuck around with it. It's like they fuck it up. You know what I'm saying? Like the shit comes out like not sounding good, and it's not like anything that's, you know. I sometimes it bogs my mind of like you let this record come out this way and be like, yo, this is not like you fuck this shit up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really adamant of like, yo, here's the record. Here's what I think it should be. We can change it together, but I need to have approval of like where it's gonna be and how it's gonna come. Because at the end of the day, it's like my name's on it too, and so and obviously sometimes you just have to work up to that. Like sometimes nobody's just gonna let you say that and be like, fuck it, all right, let's listen to what Dahi says. You gotta be like, all right, he's shown like what the fuck he knows what he's talking about. So like, let me just be able to be like, here, take this, and then like we'll use it. So for this, but this particular part, like SZA basically loved exactly what I gave her. The arrangement I gave her as a beat was like kind of like, it. I will say like the in some ways like you have to be able to. The crazy about this record is like I kind of gave it to her as is, and she kind of worked around it. But there has been times where like I would say structurally the song is a little bit differently, but I remember just kind of like it took us a while to kind of figure out like how to finish the record, if that makes sense. Like a lot of it was, you know, her writing the song, her basically like having like the elements of like the sounds like, oh, she loved that sound. She like, oh, this is fire. That synth sound she liked. I mean, she liked everything. She was just like, yo, this is exactly what I need in like regards of like the feeling of the song. But then like she wrote a verse, and the verse was like she had the verse for a while, and then like she like, man, I don't know if I can I don't know if I can finish it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna sit on it for a while. And then she changed the second verse, and the second verse it was like was there, and then she was like, I don't know if that works. And then she was like, all right, I'm gonna try a different hook. And so we tried different stuff about the song. Like we literally tried like not eight different versions, but just like eight different ways of approaching it. Like you have this hook, you had this hook, you had this hook, you had this person. And so I remember seeing her about a year ago, and she was like, oh yeah, I got Don Toliver on it. And I was like, oh shit, that's fire. And then Don came in and wrote a hook, and I was like, oh wow, this is pretty fire. This is dope. This might be it. And it kind of stuck. But again, like I've had stuff, you never know. Like you can say it is, but then there's like a little bit of doubt of like, okay, I still want to try to change something in the second verse or the hook. I might want to do one part. And so there was a version of the Don hook that I heard that when the album came out, it was totally different from from the original version that I heard. So little things like that, where it's like it's still, and I always say again, like a record is always a demo before it comes out. You can change anything about a record. It doesn't. It just depends on like what you're trying to do and what you're trying to make and what you're trying to, uh, you know, basically, come up with. So a lot of times it's constantly evolving, constantly trying to change it, trying to make something that's fits for what the record needs. So sorry I went on a tangent, but that was basically like how it came. Somebody asks, do you have a limit usually on the amount of sounds you to use to not clutter the track? So yeah, like in general, I don't try to do. I kind of look at it like a band, basically. Like if you think of a band has like usually, bass player, a guitar player, keys player, maybe two guitar players, maybe a percussionist and a drummer, and then like, maybe one other element. Like this song has literally, say how many tracks? You got bass or synth bass. We got actually okay. We didn't see it now. Maybe not. We didn't. So we only really used the Mellotron. We used the Prophet 6. We used the Grandmother. We used guitar, and we used bass, and then we use key. So that's basically one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 with drums. So basically 7 tracks. So 7 tracks from and that was just because we wanted to layer another jam because we only have 3 or 4 people playing at one time. So a lot of stuff was me kind of relayering and trying stuff to play over different parts, and like this to me, I could have been like just having this sound, uh, like this sounds. So if I just play like this is what synth is this? Is Mellotron's 6? I have Mellotron, Prophet 6, and then let's say Kontakt keys. See, those 3 sounds together sounds pretty good, but with guitar or maybe live bass by itself with keys. So like that's another layer. So basically, we kind of when I did it, I just basically did it was like, okay, I got these 3 4 sounds, and then I'll just sort of like, you know, try to basically pick the best moments in those things, but like knowing that, I had the dry sounds and I also had the kind of like wet kind of sounds, and how can I make a hybrid of both? And so, I would say like, but I don't like to have like 80 million sounds. Like a lot of it's just like, picking something that feels good, feels right, and basically like being able to pull back and not be like, okay, that's it. So, but yeah, in general, that was just something I was like, okay, this feels like a moment, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, all right, somebody asked, what's the next question?
A couple people were asking if you have any plugins on the bass track or what's making it sound like that.
No, the bass track is, I believe it's dry because I don't think I put anything on the bass. Maybe I did. Let me see what I did on this one. Let's see. See. Well, actually, maybe I did. Okay, so this one it looks like I used synthwave bass processing rack. So this is just like this was like a yeah, this is just like a Ableton preset that I used, and it has some EQs, some overdrive, and a limiter and a compressor. So that's probably what I use. Oh yeah, this one seems like what I use on this one. And I do use a lot of Ableton presets, plugins processing. Just because like it's actually really good. Like they have some really good sounding EQs and compressors and just like it's you don't to me if you want to buy plugins and obviously I buy lots of plugins so it's not like I'm saying you don't need it or do need it but I do think in general if you go through like some of the presets they have on here they have a lot of really good ones and so I do like to use a lot of Ableton plugins in general because yeah they have some really good processing which is cool yeah any other question? And yeah, we might, to be honest, did we use the Hofner on this? Let me see. I don't know if we used the Hofner bass. The Hofner bass might have been what we used. If you guys know the Hofner bass is like the Beatles bass. Somebody wrote Beatles Beach Boys bass. Yeah, it sounds like either Hofner or my boy Danny has a 5 string flat bass that he uses a lot of times, and that is like that's just like I love his bass sound. His bass is really cool. So it was either Hofner bass or the um his 5 string bass. I don't know which brand he used, but yeah, it's really fire what you use, which is cool. Um,
Someone was asking, in your workflow, are you mostly trying a lot of things, like random things for happy accidents, or are you chasing a sound?
So if I'm working, it depends. Like basically what I try to do is and I recommend this to anybody. Like it really depends on if you're going into a session and you're trying to make you have an idea basically. You have an idea like where you want to start and a lot of that is through having the way I work is like having an idea to start with or having an idea to play around with. Specifically, if I want people to replay an idea or replay a sample or replay an idea that I just have a demo for. A lot of it is just like me knowing people's style, knowing what they can do, and then be able to be like, okay, I want him to play this instrument. I want him to pick this tone. I want him to pick this, and that's when you really get to dive into like your production as like, what this record is going to sound like. Because you sometimes if you know how a person is going to play, you kind of know what you have and what kind of tools is at your just at your disposal. And so a lot of times it's like being able to have the right players and be able to write people would be like, oh, this is fire, this is dope. I'll make something really cool out of it, and we may have a moment. But in general, I think like uh you can make then you have sessions where you can just try shit. You can just throw paint at the wall and be like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is dope. This is something to make. This is something like I can use. And that's magic too. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to just build. But I do recommend like kind of being prepared for the session and knowing like okay if I want to do a jam session I need to kind of know what sound I'm looking for. I need to know what the world I'm looking to make and what I'm trying to like inspire, and then basically from there, um, try to lock in that so when people come and play, they can just play. They don't have to like overthink it. They don't have to like, um, you know, not be caught up in like trying to figure it out. Like preparation is really the key for like a lot of stuff. I always say when it comes to like knowing what you're doing, and you got to be intentional. I think you can have to kind of know what you want to do a little bit, so at least you can kind of go in that direction. You know what I'm saying, and be able to like, oh, this is something that's like, oh, this is something that like I really want to try to make it do like that. So, yeah, but that's how the process I like to work in. What was in the question?
Another one. I mean, shameless plug, but someone's asking how they collab with you, but it's on.
Man, send me some shit, bro. Or bro or sis, depending on who you are. Send me I take you guys can send me ideas through the baton link. I have in my bio, so you guys can send me ideas, and I can go. I usually go through them, usually like once or twice a week, and just kind of just go through stuff and see where I can like find moments and do stuff. So yeah, please send me stuff, and also too, if you play instruments, send me some ideas. I do actually want to do a jam session online. I just gotta figure out how to do it, but I have been using this program called Endless, where we can share actual jam sessions and try to have people collab in time. So I'm trying to do a session with that. Hopefully within the next like few sessions in time, where we can actually like send you guys some ideas and be able to like, oh, let's fuck around and make some shit. So we'll hopefully be able to do that within the next sessions or two. Somebody says random, but what's your take on beat tags? Because you don't have one, right? I don't have one because I just didn't necessarily need one. I don't have a problem with beat tags. I think beat tags, depending on what type of creative you are and what your goals are and what you want, yeah, they can work out. I think for me, I kind of like, I guess the type of music I'm trying to make. Uh, I guess to me, I just feels like I don't really. I guess for me, a beat tag is like makes it more about what I'm doing than what the artist is doing in some capacity. And not saying that's bad, but I think for me, it's like depending on what the song is about and what the beat tag is trying to convey. Um, I know for me, I kind of feel like it takes away from the song a little bit, but that's just my opinion. I think if people are using it for uh, kind of like the notoriety and knowing people who they are, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's just not my uh, choice of like create what I'm trying to say and do with with the music I'm making. So but it's all it's each his own, man. Each his own. Each his own.
Someone asked if you could talk a little bit more about how you connected with SZA and how that relationship evolved.
Yeah, so me and SZA, uh again, like I met her before she was actually in TDE. We were friends online because my friend Cody sent her some of my music, and Cody was like, "Oh, you should work with her. She's like super duper fire." And basically from there, we did a we just stayed in contact. Basically, it was like, "Yo, send me some music," and she sent me like some like just songs that she was writing and doing, and I was like, "Yo, she's super duper dope. Like she's fire. Like we should definitely like work at to some capacity." And you send stuff out, and I think I remember she wrote on a couple ideas that I had back in the day, and yeah, I was like, yo, she's dope. Like I don't see how she's not where she's gonna be or whatever like that. Um, and then like I remember when she signed with TDE, and it was funny because I remember like Dave Free at the time was like, yo, we just signed this girl. Because I think it was around the time they had signed Isaiah, and Isaiah was Isaiah on? Yeah, I think either they was about to sign Isaiah or Isaiah was on TD, but I remember it was around that time. Like Isaiah and SZA were like basically coming into TD around the same time. So I remember it was like, oh yeah, this is girl, SZA that we love. Like she's fire. Like we're gonna like uh collab with her. So I was like, all right, dope. So then yeah, it was like, oh, okay, fire. I know her. She's fire. Like that's amazing. Like y'all should definitely work. And then we worked. And then I actually the first song she released on TDA was a record that me and her did, and it was with I think Kendrick was on the record. And it was called Babylon, and that was the first record that she had dropped on her first project, which is I'm terrible at names. The SZA's first project. Um, SZA's first project. Um, let me see. I'm done for all the names. But let me see. Um, Z. There you go. Z. So I did the record. Babylon. Yeah, that was a record that I had did off of SZA's first project. And so yeah, I've known. Yeah, I'm saying like that was 2014. So basically, that's like 8 years ago now, and I knew her before then. So I knew her. I've known her for like 10 years, which is funny. Um, and yeah, that was um that was yeah, that's crazy. It's like 10 years now, which is funny. We had worked, yeah, and again, we just been working kind of like ever since then. Um, we did a couple, I wasn't on Control, because at the time I feel like I was working on Damn pretty heavily. So I really wasn't, my energy was kind of focused in that world, but I tried to maybe make a couple of ideas with her. And then we released a song on Insecure soundtrack a while back. I forgot the name of that song. What's the name of the song? We did a song together called uh, Insecure. Insecure. Cure. Yeah. Hey, what's the name of this project? Oh yeah, we did a song called Supermodel. Is that the song we did? No, I do Supermodel. We did Quicksand. Sorry. We did a record called Quicksand. Uh Quicksand was a record we had did on the Insecure soundtrack. And yeah, that was that was one of the ones that we had did. And then from there, yeah, we've always stayed in contact, and we always like, I feel like we always try to have collaborate on different albums together because we feel like, we got a kind of kinship with just like the music and stuff, and so we're always trying to try, shit and to do stuff together. So um yeah, so that was how that came to be. Um
Someone has said, how long do you usually spend on a song, and how do you prevent like getting bored with stuff and like actually finish it versus just letting it kind of sit in a unfinished state?
I talked about. I mean, a lot of it is just like I would say it's depending on what you're doing. I mean, I think you don't try. I think you don't. I always say you got to walk away from a record when you know it's not done. Sometimes when you know it's not done and it starts to sound shitty to you, you'll lose it and you be like, I don't like it anymore. But when you know a record is like fire and you keep listening to it all the time, oh yeah, like it's there, like it's fire, and you can listen to it all day and it sounds still good. Like this particular beat, like I said, I've had this idea or this record idea for like I've had this record since I was in like I had my studio in Burbank. Do you remember my studio in
Yeah,
Burbank?
yeah. I wired it up. I wired up a little bit of it.
The one near the airport?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, see, I was there. I was there. That shit. That was man. That was one year, right? I was like, is that 4 years ago? 5 years ago?
I bet you in 2016, 16, 17.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I had been there when Rihanna's album came out, and Auntie was like 5 years ago. Yeah. So basically, yeah, yeah, it's like five years ago. I mean, this idea. I'm saying this idea is like at least to me 4 or 5 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Just the initial start of an idea. If I think about it, like I'm like, oh shit, like this is probably like a 4 year idea, and the song is actually out now, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Somebody said major flex. That's funny. No, another flex. No, no. I'm just saying. I'm only saying it because you don't know, man. Like you don't. You just don't know. You just got to. Nothing's trash. You just got to know, like if it's good, and just save it. You know what I'm saying? Like the problem I have now is like trying to go back and find sessions because I don't have like those original files, and I don't have I've changed computers. I maybe like I'm on a different DAW, and you don't have the initial session, so you're just like, oh fuck, where is the shit at? I don't know. So it's just a lot of it is just like it's upkeep and like knowing where your shit is and like knowing where to find stuff and be like, oh, this is cool. But yeah, I really just say like at the end of the day, like have the drive saved and have the ideas there, and then be able to be like, okay, this is something that yeah, you ever somebody said VST is missing. There's so many shits, and like I always say this, man. If you can buy your plugins and buy the stuff, buy it. Because and I say that only because like when you can afford it, when you like what I'm saying, trying to get in and like and you can't afford it, get all the cracks you want to get and use them shits. But like if you can't afford it, buy it. If you can't afford it, buy it. Because when you move in softwares and you move in shit, it's the hardest time of trying to revamp like your computers, because sometimes at some point you're gonna have to update, you're gonna have to do shit, something that's like bring it up to speed, and once you do that, like all your shit is like gone, or all your shit is super hard to find, and that's just life, what I'm saying. That's all I say in this world of softwares and shit. Just save it up, and also just save your drives, back them up, back everything up, have stuff there, and then just go through it. Just go through it, what I'm saying? I every year I go through like my drives and just try to find shit that I forgot about. Be like, oh, this is hard. I never, and it's like sometimes it's the time and the context doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of music is just like context and time. You don't really know, you know, where or how and if it's, where the shit is at. So just always keep that in mind when you're making stuff. Um Somebody said shout out to freezing tracks. Yes. Freezing tracks is like key. Because then it's kind of stuck whatever you had the initial ideas, and you can go back and know like what you're missing and stuff like that. So, but yeah. Let's see. You consider saving all stems of everything every time? Yeah, if I can. You know what I'm saying? If you can, save it, save it, save it, save it. Because a lot of times too, it's like I've taken parts of beats from other beats and stems and reuse them in other songs. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you have a dope part, just save it as something that you can pull up. You know what I'm saying? Like, organization is like really the key, I say, with a lot of this shit. Um, because it's you can just go back and find stuff and it won't feel like it's a super task. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not going to take forever to find what you're looking for and find what you want to make. But in general, like if you can have your sessions on a hard drive and save, or it's accessible. Like you almost have to have stuff that you can see, not just buried in some back Dropbox folder that you'll never open. You know what I'm saying? If you can have it present in your face and be like, oh yeah, these are just ideas. Let me go back and find some shit. Like, oh, this is cool. So that's what I always look. This is somebody said I just found some loops that I forgot. I'm telling you, bro, you find some shit, you be like, oh, that's hard. But you know what I'm saying? The music it might not be the right time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times just like you gotta like let it kind of muster a little bit, and then you can create some shit from it. So
Someone said something about a bedroom, for like bedrooms, people producing at home, like scheduling wise. Like, do you feel like having a schedule, or is that an important part of that process, or how important is it?
I mean, yeah, scheduling is important depending on what your priorities in life. I think in general, it's like if you're gonna, I say just schedule time to be creative every day. Um, I was listening to this interview with Metro. Shout out to Metro, Metro Boomin. Just put out a really dope album. Uh, Heroes and Villains. Um, and he said in an interview like you gotta every day you gotta do something towards your goals. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta do you just gotta like make strides in like your process. You know what I'm saying? Like you got if you want to make it make it in whatever field or make it in any like you know um career. And I think that's like the big thing, like just knowing that you have to be able to do that is like super vital. And so that means if it's, or if you're organizing your time, if it's like taking time to do a small idea or go back and pull something up and do shit, but just in general, like just be able to like go back and know that you have like the content, like, oh, this is fire, this is dope, and it's just trying every day, just throw a little paint at the wall. And I think you'll always be you'll get to your goal at eventually, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta put up the shots, you know what I'm saying? So that's it. That's what I say. Um who else got a question?
Someone said, where you find inspiration for making music today?
Where am I finding inspiration? Um it's funny because like I literally just telling my friend yesterday, like when it comes to like specifically rap music, I'm not inspired. Um and I say this because like I think I'm inspired by things where like people are trying to try to do something different, or basically trying to like challenge what is happening at the moment a little bit. But I feel like a lot of music is like it's more about like, at least right now it feels like, I feel like we're in a holding pattern. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying, like it's funny. Like I was literally just talking to a friend yesterday. It's like a lot of music to me right now. You don't hear a lot of like happy music. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense. Like you don't hear a lot of music that actually makes you feel good about life. Like life is, and I'm not even just, I'm not even talking about trap music. I think somebody said trap music. Yeah, trap is obviously like is repetitive, but I'm just saying in general, like there's not a lot of music that makes you feel good. You know what I'm saying? Like if you think about it, it's like since I said playing the pandemic. Yeah, the pandemic was a huge factor of that. But I'm just saying in general, it's like, yo, it's like there's not a lot of music that like literally makes me feel good, And I feel like a lot of stuff, the source of that is obviously where we're at in life and things. So for me, I listen to I have my go tos for like inspiration of just like artistry and people, but in general, like I think I just step out of like mainstream music in general and like listen to like just worldly music, you know what I'm saying? Of like a lot of different African music influence, a lot of different uh South American artists, a lot of rock rock bands, alternative music, modular music, instrumental music. I just try to basically make things, listen to things that I know people are intentionally trying not to like appease to like a larger audience. Because a lot of times you can come up with like stuff that's like just different and kind of inspired or something that feels like, oh, this is cool, this is a moment. And I think for me, those are things that I'm trying to like really kind of bring into the mainstream or bring into like a bigger question of a bigger concepts of music. So yeah, I mean in general, man, it's like I'm inspired. I'm definitely inspired right now. Like I feel like I got a battery in my back where I'm just like, okay, like I'm gonna make something that like feels just like amazing. And a lot of that is just like, just not being afraid, you know what I'm saying? Or not being taking risk in a way where like the results are what the results are. You know what I'm saying? Like I think sometimes I'm all for making music that people are gonna recognize and feel good about, and like and knowing that's being like something that's like you want people to connect to the music and feel something. I think for me though, I think I just try to make stuff that's like that that feels kind of inspiring in some ways. Of like it's just like something that people have to like question a little bit of like why'd you do that? You know what I'm saying? Or I almost don't want to make stuff that people when they listen to it they be like, man, like I wish I made that. You know what I'm saying? Those are things like, and there's stuff that I hear that I'm like man, I really wish I made that. You know what I'm saying? And that's just always my goal. It's like I really want people to be like, man, man, that's crazy. I wish I made a moment like that. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I make it. Sometimes I strike out. Sometimes I like, you know, miss the whole thing. But I tried. I tried. You know what I'm saying? I try to make something that way. And Lord willing, it works out. So, um, what's another question?
Someone asked what are some of the South American artists you've been listening to, or just the non-traditional artists you've been listening to.
Let's see. Who am I listening to? I'll just look at my Spotify. Like that'll tell you if I'm lying. Let me see. Of late, what am I listening to? Is it show? Recently played. Oh, so I've been listening to my guy Skyfall, super dope artist, love his shit. I've been listening to Empire of the Sun. I've been listening to my guy River, Tyburn. He just put out a project, it's super fire. Been listening to somebody said let's listen to Lil Tecca. Been listening to Radiohead, always inspired by them. Been listening to Indri, this artist. I really got just put on her. She's super fire. And I just love her voice and tone. Listen to her. Who else? Is it Maria's? I've been listening to them. They're super dope. They put out a song with Bad Bunny that's super fire, and I just got put onto them. They're really amazing artists, Rosalia, obviously, Blueface, just to get a bop, figure out a pocket. What else? Yeah, you can see. I love this band right here. They're super dope. E-Train did La Air. I've been bumping that shit pretty fire of late. Just like, yeah, it's just fire. You guys should definitely check them out. Like I've been in that space as well too. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of it just like me, just kind of just trying shit. You know what I'm saying? Like being like, this is dope. This is fire. This is cool. This is something that's like that feels uh like a moment, you know what I'm saying? And that's all I'm looking for in like my process of making music and making shit. So another question.
At the bottom, the Quaros.
What'd you say?
At the bottom, the Quaros is asking, do you record artists, and if so, do you like what equipment do you use?
So do I record artists? Yes, I do. I use if I'm using my mic, I have a Telefunken which model?
Oh, you got the TF-51.
The TF-51, I use that one if I'm recording. I have my SM7 mic, which is just like a demo mic you can use. For I don't have mine, but I do want. I'm actually gonna buy one. Is the was it TubeTech, the blue one that everybody uses?
Oh yeah, CL1B.
Yeah, the CL1B is one I'm actually gonna buy. It's like a perfect usually that's like the standard.
Yeah, it's that tube sound, but you got tweakability with it.
Yeah, that's like the standard vocal chain. It's a compressor, right?
Oh yep.
Yeah, compressor. And what else? I mean, I had. I don't know if I have any more. I do use. Well, I use this a lot sometimes. I do use a. This is a. What the fuck is this
Oh,
called?
the branch from Tree Audio.
The Branch. Sorry, I'm forgetting the name. The Branch by Tree Audio. That's it's like a It's really good. It's kind of like an analog ish. It's a tube.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old like tube console channel strips.
Yeah, it's a tube console channel strip. I use it a lot for like my basses and like guitar sounds. But it is I still use it for vocals. So like dial in EQ frequencies and also to and you can and also it has a really good compressor as well too. So that's probably the one that's like my main channel strip of what I'm using on like somebody thank you, the tube tech price is crazy. Yeah, it's pretty stupid. But if you're trying to, I mean, I'd say if you're trying to like, what's a good, what's if you have, if you what's the budget? If you had like, if you had
You got like $1,500. You want a mic and everything in it.
if you had $15, what would you say?
I would say something like the Warm Audio stuff is pretty good for like the 1073 style preamps, and then you can get like the Warm Audio like C800 is really good, or the what's that company called Peluso, not Peluso. Those are the people. There's a mic company that makes like vintage emulations like 48, 47s and C800s. Starts with a P. I'm blanking on it right now, but they like that sort of like those sort of emulations for mics, and then for a compressor, if you know how to use a compressor, right? Because it could be dangerous.
Yep.
But if you know how to use a compressor, something like a off the top of my head, like compressors aren't cheap. Oh, the one from Rupert Neve Designs, the Portico, the white one, not the blue one, because the blue one's more vintage. It can get a little heavy, but that one's like $500, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you like attack and release, so you can dial it in.
Dope. He knows what's up. My guy Tyler. Somebody Slate Audio. They have some really good shit on there. Slate Audio has like really good. I mean, they have that. You ever tried that mic? They had the one.
I have.
Mic.
I've used that, and I've used the UA one, and like it's really dope if you don't know what the artist is gonna sound good on.
Okay, got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't work with this artist every day, it's really great because you can like change it up after the fact or middle of the fact, and it doesn't sound bad by any means. Like it's not exactly what you would get. You know, you're not getting a $15,000 mic with it, but you're getting really close.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, it's just like I always look at like, just get it up to the point where like it sounds, just good. You know what I'm saying? Like you're always gonna get shit sounding better as you get more equipment and more, have more money to spend and be like, oh, I have this, but you don't want to depend on your gear in some ways, because a lot of times I feel like I've seen people just go down a rabbit hole just buying a bunch of stuff that they're not going to use, and you basically I always, me and Tyler talk about it. Basically, you just got to know what the fuck you're doing. That's the first thing. You got to know what you're doing, just so you be like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Like, this is something that I can make. This is something I use. You know what I'm saying? But these are all just things that, in general, like I say, like you have to kind of read upon, study, because there's a lot of things that I've paid for that, again, like I'm not even using, and I'm trying. I thought it was cool, but then I was like, all right, but then I'm just trying to spend time like actually developing and like making something really cool out of it. So, but yeah.
It's like using your drum racks from Ableton. It's like that's free.
Yep, exactly. I'm saying like even like I will say like some of these DAWs have like really gotten their sounds dialed in together. So if you're using their compressors and EQs, like I said, I work in Ableton a lot, and I use a lot of their stock sounds. Like I use a lot of their stock plugins. I use a lot of their channel strips to get like what I need, you know what I'm saying, in a crunch. And I think like you can do it, you know what I'm saying? Like you sometimes the tools, it's really about your brain, you know what I'm saying, what tools you are trying to make, or use your brain to figure out whatever you're trying to do. Ask questions. YouTube, I'm always on YouTube, like fucking learning some shit. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, like those are just keys that I always like to try to relay to folks as they're creating and trying to do shit. So yeah. Um, somebody any question? Another question? Um, let's see.
Someone asked about transitioning to being a full-time producer. Do you have any tips?
Oh, oh, somebody asked me how I set up tempo drum. I feel like I told everybody about tempo drums already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
It's in the VOD on YouTube from Jam Session 1.
Mm-hmm.
You're using it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Oh, just from transitioning from like part-time to full-time producer, like making it your career. Well, you had a pretty interesting path when you like transitioning from doing it full-time to not.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, well, for me, for me I mean, you want to know the whole story. Um, yeah, I mean, I was working basically like a bunch of random jobs for a few years when I came out to back to LA. And I went to audio engineering school, worked for a year, worked while I was in audio engineering school. Uh, and I tutored for a few years, just tutored kids, um, you know, math and English. And that was like my main job, math and English. And on the side, like, you know, working, going to school. And then from there, I found a job working. I didn't also did a couple like temp agency jobs where I was just working um, uh, like 9 to 5, and then on the side I was like trying to make beats and meeting artists in LA. Um, and but the job that helped me spend time in music was when I worked at a university as worked as uh, a resident director for a university. I used to work at the school called Marymount College in San Pedro, which is a kind of like it was like a 2 year school, but it was actually a 4 year turned into a 4 year university. And so I worked there for a while. Basically, I worked there for 3 years, and in that 3 years, uh, that's when I really spent time trying to like really make, make it in the music business, and that was to me that kind of changed everything because I found a job that gave me the time to really focus on music, and also too like I was still able to like work, because like the job kind of if you don't know about a resident director, right, it's like you're kind of like on call 24/7, but you kind of work in different spurts where you kind of are working heavy hours, and then you're like off, and then you're working heavy hours and you're off for a couple of days and do shit. So for me, I was like I had time to like just dive in into like the music and like see where it can happen, and that's where like at that time that's when like started working with a lot of TDE artists in that year span. Like I had worked with before in that time span. I think before in that same year like I worked a lot of records that I had going on. I think it was like 2007. No, I'm sorry, 2010 to 2012 or 13. That's when I had like certain records come up with like my guys back there. I did my type of party for Don Kennedy. That led to me working with Schoolboy, doing his record Sexting on his first mixtape. Then I let me working with Kendrick on Good Kid, Mad City, and then it was like it kind of trickled, and I was still working the job, and then like I started working with Mac Miller. I started working with Freddie Gibbs. I started working with uh the Drake record kind of came in that time span, and I had to like I had Worst Behavior come out, and I was still working my job. You know what I'm saying? Like I had my job working as an RA until I didn't really quit my job until I signed like my publishing deal, my first publishing deal, and that's when it gave me like I had like enough money where I was like, all right, cool, like I have some dough that I can sit with, and I can be like, okay, I'm not gonna be hurting for a while, or I can project, you know, what I'm saying, where I have this job and it's like it gives me time to, you know, create and do shit. So, you know, a lot of it is just like, you know, I just said somebody said Mick Jenkins. When did that Mick Jenkins record come out? I can't remember what year that was, but basically, yeah, I had like records come out in that time span for me to be able to like, um, let's just make some, you know, make this happen, and then hopefully, you know, Lord willing, like I'm able to like, uh, I can, you know, make a career out of this. So, but yeah, in general, I just say like, you know, just try to, you just got to know when you're able to actually move it. But until then, like I kept my job. I will say that I kept my job as long as possible because I didn't want my money. I didn't want money to compromise like my creativity. So I was gonna stick it out. I wasn't gonna make a record because I was hot. If it makes sense. Like I was gonna make a record because it was good. And I didn't care. I was like, and I just want to have a job where like it's not gonna the money's not gonna dictate the shit I'm gonna make. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's important as a creative, like just making music for the sake of like making music is important, and don't let I need the money. I'm trying to make a hot record to like uh dictate like what you're gonna make. And that's just that's just how I am with like anything I do. Like I'm like, oh, I gotta make this shit. I gotta make this shit work. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's, you know, kept me around. To be honest, of like why I'm still here. You know, I know a lot of people who came in same year I did as a producer, and like, you know, like I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? I'm still making, you know, strides and trying to um make something that feels you know, important and it'll last long, you know. So at the end of the day, I think it's just those are just things, keys that I try to like remember and, you know, not take for granted. And I think that I like to share that message with like all everybody that I talk to. Cause you know, so I think at the end of the day, it's like just keeping that in your process. I think you'll always be good. I think you'll always be good. So we got time for a couple more questions. Um,
Someone's asking if you have any suggestions for like if they typically play like sad chords, like how to make that into more happy sounding stuff, or if you've ever like, had that issue where like you making something feel sad but you want to turn it into something more positive, like major minor more type stuff maybe.
um, I don't know about. I don't think of how to answer that question. Um, you know, a lot of it is just what I've learned about. I'd say with any of us, like anybody creating, like you're creating from a standpoint of what you know and how you feel. And so sometimes, like for me, for example, like I love slow beats. I love making slow music. And so, but I know slow music is only like one kind of vibe. So I have to kind of force myself to do something different to break that monotony. And so a lot of times what I do, I just put on a really fast beat or I put on a really fast tempo idea or something that just got like pace. So it makes me do something different. If I go slow, then I know what I'm gonna make already. So I'd say in general, like, you know, just intentionally start songs off with certain chord progressions, and you kind of be able to make something new out of that. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, you know, and that's why I love like the idea of like using scalar. I like using uh what else? I like using uh yeah, scalar is probably my main thing that I use for like breaking out of like my chord progression and things. And sometimes I just know I know the chords I like, but if sometimes I hear some other suggested chord idea or whatever, it helps me like just change a new idea and melody. It's like, oh, this is cool, this is dope. So scalar is something I use like just to like break that idea of like, you know, these are the chords that I'm only gonna like or do whatever. Um and yeah, it's just, you know, but I think in general it's just like if you know yourself, just try to put something in front of you that like breaks that idea because you always gonna do the same shit if you just keep stay in your lane. So
Kind
yeah.
of like what you did with jam session in the jam session, right? Where you're just playing music that you kind of like get the vibe from, and then you go from there too.
Yeah, I mean the jam sessions is always cool because what I love about doing jam sessions is like you kind of are able to somebody else is gonna move the music a little bit differently. You know what I'm saying? Like if you play a certain way, you have certain kind of song ideas and certain contexts. Like if you're able to like literally just put yourself in a new place because somebody else is guiding the session. Somebody's pushing the melody. Somebody's changing the pocket. Somebody's doing a different you know um just something that's dope. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different and it just allows you to break up that what you know and what you're gonna do because that's the key I think is in creating like as long you gotta know what you're gonna do and you're gonna do something different. I think that's something that always helps you make what you're gonna make and do. So having people in the room to help guide your session and guide something really dope is really important. Somebody said I found the resource to with the hundreds of chords or ripcord. Can I share? Yes, please share. Um, put that in the chat. Whatever info is cool. I'm with it. Um, also you can also bless it in Discord too. Um, if you guys join, we have a general chat, Discord, that we like to share information and give people some stuff. So if you go to Discord, it's there's a link. So the link is well, we'll drop it in the chat. But yeah, check that out. We definitely want people joining the show, being a part of the world. So, um, I got time for one more question, and if anybody has any questions, see, that was another one. So,
Let's see. Um,
can I break down drugs and hella melodies? I might do that one. I have to figure out. Well, actually, that record I did with my boy Los Hendrix, who is amazing. He did Good Days actually on SZA's album as well. I'll ask him if I can get that session from because he actually has the original session. But I'll um I'll see if I can do that one for sure. Was there another question on here?
um, Someone was asking about when are you involved in the writing process sometimes, and do you ever come up with a concept for the artist in terms of like sort of the songwriting?
Oh yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, yeah, and I like to do that. I mean, sometimes I think if you can come up with a concept for a song, I think it helps guide like what the artist is gonna do and what they can create. I think it's in a lot of times I think conversations when I work with artists, like a lot of times I don't even like this to make the music, start making the beat first or making the song first. I just try like to just talk to people and be like, oh, this is cool. What have you been going through? What you been laughing to? What you been feeling? What's been like on your mind? What's been the context of like what you've been feeling in life? And then from there, I'm able to be like, okay, this is fire. This feels like um a moment that you can create like at least a starting point, you know what I'm saying, where people feel like this is something special, or this is something that means something. And so that's what I always try to like do in regards to like thinking of ideas, writing stuff down, thinking something like, oh, this person could be try this or do this. So in general, yeah, just I like to do that. I like to do that. I don't do it all the time, obviously, but I think if I'm there for the process and be able to like create moments with people, then yeah, I think it could be really dope. So um, yeah, I think that'll be awesome. Um, yeah, I think that is it for today.
I'm gonna be posting the cook up today, right now actually.
Yeah, so I'm going to be posting. Well, Tyler's going to be posting it for me, but basically, we're going to repost the cook up jam session we did last time we got together a couple weeks ago. It'll be on YouTube for you guys, available on YouTube for you guys to check out if you guys missed last episode. And then also too, I will be doing. I'm coming back next week and doing that episode. I'm not sure. Might be another jam session, might be another cook up. But just like us, just making some ideas. So, I'll send a link out to you guys. But I'll have you said what YouTube channel. So if you go to my link on my bio, there is a YouTube that will have the episode there where you can check out. But also we'll put it in the chat box for you to check out sometime after the show, and you guys can watch it. So
I just put it in the chat right there. It's the cook up episode right there.
Perfect. So yeah, it's in the chat box, and you guys can just go stream it, watch it, check it out, and yeah, send me comments, things that you might want to see, things that you guys are into. I'm open, and I'm trying to bring some interesting content to what we're trying to do here. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. But yeah, I'll be back next week, and I'll send some info on what the show will be about. But yeah, if you got any other suggestions, please, or questions or things that you guys want to see, definitely add it to the Discord. And yeah, I want this to be fun as possible. So we'll just start, adding some flavor, adding some spice to the show. So but yeah, I appreciate you guys for spending the time. Sorry for the late start. We just had a couple of difficult technical difficulties. But yeah, we'll be back and next week. So y'all have a good night, and be well. Peace.